we interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Yo, it's Remember the Show. Slick with the flows, where the sparring can go. Who's gonna be on, man, you never will know. Guess you better tune in, cause we live from Chicago. Belal Muhammad, that's the king of the tweets. Jason Anik looks like John, step his hands to his feet. Every Thursday, we gon' give you a treat. It's Remember the Show, hit play and repeat. And retweet, and retweet, and retweet. And retweet, it's Remember the Show, hit play and repeat.
What's up, everybody? Appreciate you being with us. Remember the Show. For those of you that don't know, that is our producer, Cody Merrow, on the track on the Open. Bully, it's held up pretty well. That's 4 years old. That track's held up pretty well. I mean, I know we need to update it for the champion. Speaking of the champion, welcome. This is episode 135. My name is Jason Anik, and look who I'm joined by. It is right there on the screen. UFC welterweight champion. Never gets old saying it. My brother, Belal Muhammad. Some roots back in the ground in Chicago. You've been there for a minute. How you feeling, man?
Yeah, it feels good just to get back to normal life a little bit. Just chilling, back to training, being in the gym with Nacho. It feels good. None of that helicopter life, no Tesla convoy following me around anymore. So we're good. I don't miss it.
We'll get into it later, but there will be some convoys back in England, but I don't want to spoil that. We're going to talk about that later. But dude, great to see you. And before we get into the topics, I just want to say, and forgive me, I've been in some real estate class all week, so I haven't had a chance to see the documentary by your friend, Will Harris, Anatomy of a Fighter. 7 days out, Belal Muhammad becomes the first Palestinian UFC champion. I will see it, but just let us know where we can find it. Tell me about what's in it, where we can get it. Talk to me, brother.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because Will just came down, wanted to celebrate with us and just come to the parade. And then he's like, well, you guys are doing this? I'll bring my camera a little bit, record a little bit. And he's like, bro, I got so much epic footage. I gotta make something of it, man. I gotta make a story. And Will's the best at telling a story. And then the way he did this, the finale, honestly, was one of the best things I've ever seen. It like makes you tear up. Like my mom was literally crying, just watching it and going back to it. And the message that I've gotten from people that watched it, they're like, this is amazing. And he said it wasn't even for me. He said, I did it for the people. So it's cool that he interviewed a lot of people. We were there, just normal people in the crowd, fans, getting their reactions, being able to get my father before the fight and after the fight. And then it's cool because he opens up with my father talking and he's like, yeah, you're going to give it the belt on July 27th. And then he messages me like, man, your dad got like the perfect voice, narrator voice. And I like,
yeah, right?
His group chat. And then my mom's like, no, he doesn't. What is he talking about? I was like, why are you trying to steal his shine for it? He's like, got a perfect narrator voice.
I love it. Well, well documented. Your dad was the one guy more relaxed than you all of fight week. He knew it was coming, but it's nice for your mom to be able to sit down and watch something, right? She can't watch the fights. So nice for her to have something to watch. But shout out Will Harris, Anatomy of a Fighter. I'm excited to go watch it. But anyway, we'll move into the topics. You know what, though? Before we get into topics, I'm gonna do what I want to do all week and talk about my boy Belal Muhammad. Oh, is everybody mad that I called him my boy or my brother? Right? I just got to say something out there, right? And I am Jason Anik. I got lettuce. It's growing back. But I just want to say, okay, this is all organic behavior for me with Belal. I delete half these tweets, okay, folks? Like for me, I'm so happy for my friend. I'm so happy for his family. I'm so happy for his coaches, his training partners, and everybody. And unlike the Boston Sports Championships, it's not dissipating. I feel it every day. So I'm going to put it out there, and so I just want to give you a little more flowers tonight. I assume you're still feeling fudging great.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good, right? But, when I go back and I listen to the Anik and Florian podcast from Wednesday and John tells, I picked Leon to win the fight. I'm like, bro, what's up with John? What's up with you, bro? And then I wore his t-shirt today. I wore his theory. The fuck is his problem?
Bro, he was here a short while ago. Don't even get me started. He was on an interesting he was interesting. He was all over Kenny Florian for chewing gum. He was all over Ray Longo, and then he's like, and basically, and I will say for those of you who didn't see it, he was sort of quickly like, yeah, I picked Izzy and I picked Leon or whatever, well, sorry, but like fudge him. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Like, don't even get me started. What's up, Funko Pop guy? That is the biggest Drickus Duplessis fan in the world that just popped up. And there's the man, Dave Fretz. Yes, I'm not going to apologize. There are a lot of us celebrating. But, Bully, we'll take this up with John. You can be sure. I believe we'll see you out there for Noche, for Ignacio Mondays. Appreciate all the love. Is that Gaethje? I love it. But, Belal, just to let the fans know, too, when Belal says Nacho, I know everyone should know that that's Ignacio La Jaula Bahamondes, but we haven't been able to get him to change his nickname to Nacho. But anyway, Bully, man, happy for you. And I just had to get that out before we get a little serious on you. So congrats, brother. Let's fucking go. Excuse my language. Sometimes I can't help it. All right, first topic, UFC 305. I liked seeing the Bics, by the way, little circles out there. It felt like home again. You know, I wasn't necessarily used to seeing like 50,000 people liking it. That's a little new, right? Let's go, champ. All right, UFC 305. DDP Adesanya. I assume you enjoyed being at your buddy's house. Belt on the show. The belt stayed home, or was the belt with you?
No, the belt stayed home.
I of you like just watching on a couch with the belt on your shoulder, just relaxing. But anyway, main event, DDP Adesanya, and still talk to me about the main event, your reaction, your thoughts, both sides of it.
First, let me get back to the Bics, bro. They were the comeback of the year. And then, like you said, now it's 50,000 people looking at them. So I had 50,000 messages telling me I suck because I picked Izzy. And then I literally thought, man, well, we'll talk about the card. Like, that main event, honestly, it was a great fight. And it was going the way I was expecting it to go. I thought Izzy was doing well, right? You know, he's a lot cleaner striker. He looked very good with his footwork. He looked like the old Izzy. The only thing is, he looked a little bit like he got tired, right? I think he added a lot more muscle on, and you could tell in his physique. But I think that his body wasn't used to carrying that much weight because when it got to like the third round and even the fourth round, he looked a lot slower. So I'm like, maybe his body's not used to carrying that weight. Kind of like how John Jones was when he fought Owen St. Preux. And you're like, he did all that weightlifting, and then they kept talking about his strength coach and this and that. And if your body's not used to moving like that, especially in that type of fight where it's grappling, striking, moving. But man, he was looking so good. And like Dana said, DDP's so ugly the way he does it, but he makes it work, right? And if there's something that DDP does have, it's heart. And there's not a give up in him. And he's going to go into the end, even though like he himself looked tired, but he just has that no gas tank, doesn't need gas in his tank to just keep going. He's just going to keep pushing along, chugging along. And he got that finish. But it's funny because I tweeted out right before, like a couple minutes before that Izzy's leaning back too much. He's leaning back. I think he needs to move his footwork a little bit better and the defense. And I think that's what caught him up is all that leaning. That's why Drix was able to throw those big overhands. It doesn't have to be pretty. Those big overhands, all it takes is one to land. And I think that rocked him a little bit. And then when he got taken down, it was just like, I think it was more rocked than anything. I know he said he made a mistake, but I think he was just rocked and dazed. And that's what got the choke underneath so quickly.
You know, it was a really interesting fight. And, you know, for Dricus du Plessis, there's a lot of folks out there that I've heard and everyone talk about the unorthodox striking and to your point, it being ugly, right? And John was saying to me earlier today, we didn't have a time to finish the conversation, but alluding to Dominic Cruz, maybe talking about some of the leg strikes, you know, some of that stuff being somewhat technical. But, you know, what Dricus said to me that sort of stood out, like when he's talking about being the hardest, always sort of having been the hardest worker in the room, but not like as a cliche, like him wanting to be the hardest worker in the room and then being champ and having to work even harder, right? And I couldn't help but think of you when he said that. I mentioned this on another show this week. Like, you know, talk to me a little bit about that because I'm sure that because there are some similarities in the indestructibility and the tough out that you and Dricus both are.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the similarity is you're going to have to kill us to beat us. There's not going to be a moment in our head where we think we're going to lose. Even if we are losing on the scorecards, even if there's time on the clock, we have time to win. And I think that's what separates us from a lot of these guys. The biggest fear from any of these fighters is to gas out in the cage. Is to be in that cage and you can't lift your arms up. That's one of every fighter's biggest fear. Because I've seen guys where they get tired and it's just like, let me give you my neck. Or you notice guys and even ex-champions where they get to that moment and this like they're dead tired and they're just like whatever. They'll give something up. Other fighters will see it. Maybe the fan won't see it, but fighters will see it. Like, oh, he gave that choke up because he was dead tired. And I think that for myself, I'm fearless when it comes to cardio. I know I could push it to any level. I could go a hard 25 minutes. And I think Dricus, even though he doesn't look like he's in the best shape because he's always breathing hard and he's even with like some of those takedown shots, it wasn't I think it was just bad technique because he was like, he looked tired because he was laying on his knees a little bit too long. But I think he just has that mindset where there's not going to be a quitting bone in my body. I'm not going to stop. And I think that's what separates us from a lot of these other fighters, because some of these other fighters are like, I'm not going to go the extra mile. I can't go anymore. Or they're looking for their coach for motivational advice. Like, we don't need that. We need that coach that's going to tell us, yo, relax, chill out, sit down, take a day off. And we're still going to work harder the next day. We're still going to keep going. We're still going to, sneak in another practice. And that's the only similarity, because like when you're talking about striking, grappling, everything, I'm like 10 times better than Druskus.
Yeah, and we could have a long conversation about that. We could certainly have a conversation about double champ, but I want to get to more with you on 305 because I want to pick your analytical brain. So we got to, let's just move on to the co-main event, right? So I said to John, find me someone on the ground that picked Kai Kara-France to win that fight before the fight. And so I'm going to ask you the same question, right? And for me, I certainly like Steve Erceg. Kenny Florian, I thought, put it well this week, saying he sort of maybe put too much into Kai's last couple losses in the off time and maybe put a little too much into what Erceg had just sort of accomplished in a tough fight against Pantoja. So I ask you, did you find anyone making a case for Kara-France before the fight, and then sort of break down the fight both sides a little bit for us?
Bro, I was literally telling everybody that this is the lock of the night. It's Erceg. Erceg's going to walk through him. I'm like, there's zero chance that Kai Kara-France is going to win this fight. And I'm like, bro, the way Erceg looked so good, I was like, he's going to be a champion before the end of the year. But I think kind of like the Dominic Reyes type of effect, where you went toe-to-toe with the champion and you're so close and you're an inch away from being the champion. I don't know if he got too comfortable for the next fight. And you're looking at Kai Kara-France, and he lost 2 in a row, and you're like, all he has is a big overhand right. My boxing's way better. My grappling's way better. I could beat him anywhere. And now you're going to get to the point of, like, cockiness. And I don't think he was more – like, he didn't look like he was relaxing there. He looked like he was still being himself. Kai Kara-France just has crazy power. Sometimes you just get caught, right? Sometimes it was just, like, the perfect shot. I just think, man – that was just a wild fight. I did not expect that to happen. I did not expect that outcome to be what it was. And I thought Erceg was going to beat him everywhere.
It's interesting. John made a point, and forgive me, John Anik, my brother, that's who I'm referring to. Just talking about the travel with Erceg, right? And so it's, he sort of took the quick fight in Brazil and then Brazil to Perth, where I know Perth is home and where he's from, but some of these guys get in these whirlwinds. Not everyone can be Kevin Holland 5-0 in 2020 calendar year, just bouncing to face everyone. It sometimes can sort of catch up with you a little bit, so I don't know if that played a factor, but did you talk to anybody before this fight? I know we both talked to a good, not a single soul. I'm surprised the betting line, the betting line did get close to -325. So it seemed like even the sharps are coming in on Erceg. But anyway, shout us out in the comments if you were on Kara-France ahead of time. But speaking of Kai Kara-France, like, spin it forward now. I mean, he has a chance to fight for the belt at some point soon, maybe.
Yeah, especially at the 125 division, right? It's so open. You got guys that are injured, right? You got Merrill Bazzi that beat him, but he's been out with the injury. Manel Kape just lost. Makayev just got
right cut.
UFC. So, that division is wide open. But now you got Cejudo saying he wants to come back now. I think he understands that if he goes back down, he'll be one of the biggest names in the division. But I just don't know if he's going to be able to make that weight, because he's been, so far gone from it.
I hear you. And he looks thick out of camp. Mighty Mouse, come on back. I would love to see that guy come back. There's more juice in this division now. Isn't it just, and wasn't it sort of like about him not selling pay-per-view? That's ultimately, I would love to rewind back to that time and maybe ask my brother some questions about that, because I don't know. Well, I know you're not high on him, right? Was everybody chirping about my boy Belal, but it doesn't matter because gold is around there somewhere. All right. So another fight that no one was really expecting. I mean, there were some more people maybe on Dan Hooker, but Mateusz Gamrot, a larger favorite than Steve Erceg was. So Dan Hooker right now back in the picture, top 5. Cody suggested Hooker versus Conor McGregor. Right? I believe that's what Cody suggested to me. But anyway,
Hooker called them out.
Okay, so there you go. So
trying to make his case for it. And I mean, if I'm Conor, I'm looking at Hooker like he's top 5. He's on a streak right now. I beat him. I could say I'm next for the title. And Hooker's going to want to sit there and bang with it, right? But this was like one of the most frustrating fights to watch. Because I'm looking at Gamrot, like some of the stuff he was doing was so dumb. Like there was points where he was just shooting his low single leg. And if I'm like a wrestler, I'm looking at this guy like, what are you doing? Like he's making it look like he's getting hurt because he's going all the way down to his knees and making it a scrambling spot. But I tweeted out, I said, does this guy get tired? Does he only have like 2 minutes in him every round? But then I go back to his fight with Arman, and he looked so good that whole fight, and he had cardio for days. I don't know if he just didn't train as hard or he just looked so tired in there and a lot of those positions. But Dan was doing a great job of pushing him backwards. He was making him walk backwards the whole time, and that's a wrestler's worst enemy is to shoot going backwards. But Dan showed a lot of toughness, right? He loves to be in the fire. For him to be sitting there smiling and laughing with his eyes bleeding and in between rounds, it was cool to see, especially because he was in home territory. You had 3 of your teammates on the card with you, so sometimes that could add extra stress because you don't want to be the first guy to lose if you're the first one up, and your boys are after you, so you want to start it off right. So Dan had a lot of pressure on his back.
No doubt. But it's interesting. You talk about the aesthetic with Gamrot on the ground, sort of looking more in trouble, not looking at the aesthetic being worse than what was actually happening. Right. And we've talked a lot about your fights and your decision fights being all no brainers. You think I was sitting there in Manchester worried about anything? I mean, regardless, and those scorecards were bad, but it was unequivocal. It was without question, it's just interesting, man. Like Dan Hooker, right? The aesthetic of him on the stool. I love this shit. And it's like, I'm going to get through 15 minutes. And then it's up to somebody to put a number on a card, Yeah,
but what's also crazy is like Gamrot weighed in as a backup to fight for the title.
Right.
And then Dan Hooker just beat him. But when you look back to what Islam did to Dan Hooker, he literally walked through him. So it's just crazy to see how everything's playing out right now in that division with Oliveira just losing, Gaethje just losing. He just beat Dustin Poirier. So after Arman, I'm looking to see what's next for him. And if I'm McGregor, I beat Dan Hooker, I'm next.
You think he could
even if McGregor ends up beating Michael Chandler, there's still a possibility.
You think McGregor could make 155?
I think he could. I mean, all you got to do is just cycle off a little bit. Put the coke down. You'll be all right.
Yeah, get Chef Larios around to help him out a little bit. But dude, I will say, I mean, I still don't expect McGregor to fight. Like it's like you can let me know. I'll enjoy that when I make the walk to the arena that night. Like I'm not gonna, I'm not waiting with bated breath for that. Moving on. Francis Ngannou, MMA fight announced as we expected. Super fight, pay-per-view, October 19th. Ngannou, man, I'm excited to see him fight. Fajeda, my brother says this guy's a monster, this guy Fajeda that he's fighting. So big boys, I'm excited for it, man. Nixick in the corner did win the UFC Undisputed Heavyweight Championship not that long ago. So, the boxing stuff's been fun, but I'm excited to see him back in mixed martial arts. I'll be tuning in that night. Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, his opponent's a dog, but literally after today, he's the biggest piece of trash I've ever seen in my life.
Fill me in. Forgive me.
Yeah, they had a press conference, and then he said that, I know Francis has been going through some stuff, and he's had a terrible year, but this is going to be the worst thing that happens to him this year. And for people that don't know what happened with Francis's son, for him to, say that, you have to be the biggest scumbag in the world. And I know people are saying, oh, man, it could have been, lost in translation or something like that. And I think Gilbert said it was lost in translation, but then he came back and said, no, he didn't mean that. It looked like it. Going back, watching it, he didn't mean what he said. So for you to I don't know, man, that one really rubbed me the wrong way. And I was excited for this fight, but now I just want to see Francis stomp on his head and watch him put him unconscious for days.
Well, forgive me, I didn't see that. I did believe I saw something that Francis did say. I never had a chance to fight for my son, right? And that and I'll say to you, bro, I know that you're not a father, but you're a father figure to an extent in a way that you weren't a year ago with Jude coming from Palestine, right? So, it's becoming a parent is a different thing. And we often joke about how those of us that have children can sometimes not even relate to those that don't, because it's a very different thing. But you certainly have a different love for a little boy than maybe you did a year ago. So I'm sure this is hitting you.
No, 100%. I consider myself I'm an uncle to a lot of my boys' kids. And Mike Cannon, it was funny today because he sent me his son Callum just went to school, his first day of school. And then it was what do you want to be in the future? And he put UFC fighter. And it was so cool. He said to me, look what he put. And he's always at the practices with us. He's always watching us train. So that was just awesome to see. Because like you said, people are looking up to you in a different way now. And they see this and they want to be like you now.
Callum, you want to be a fighter or you want to be a champion like Uncle Bully? Which one?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Or you want to get beat up like your dad.
But dude, when you start talking about different guys and opportunities getting title shots, and we, Khalil Roundtree Jr., for example, and we talk about Usyk and everything, it's like, Belal Muhammad had to earn it, right? You talk about resume, Dricus Duplessis, right? Whitaker, Strickland, Adesanya. Do we want to rail off Bully's resume as well? Same type of names. Was it what Maya, Thompson, Luque, Burns,
Brady.
for Brady, and who did you beat? Rocky Edwards.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, we'll move on to the big show, 265 pounds. Man, honestly, bro, it's like, it's the same thing with McGregor for me with John Jones. It's like, I'll believe it when I see it to a certain extent. I would love to be having conversations strictly about, Tom Aspinall's sort of reign, like your reign, a guy who wants to be active and defend the belt. So talk to me about the heavyweights in the big show.
Yeah, obviously everybody's still talking about Stipe and John Jones, and Aspinall is now starting to chirp a lot more. Now you're starting to see the trash talk side of him and really trying to push John Jones. But I don't think John Jones is that type of guy that's going to take the bait, right? I feel like he's the type that's like, he wants you to beg it and he wants you to talk. Like, he doesn't need to prove anything. He's already beaten everybody, and he's been the champ for so long. So I think for Tom, it's wait and see what happens with Stipe. Wait, and after that fight, then you can start talking, because I think that John already got his mind set. There's nothing that's going to change it. He's going to fight Stipe. And I think somebody put a rumor out that Stipe was injured. But I'm hoping that he's not, just so we could actually see John Jones fight in November. Because if Stipe is injured, I don't see John Jones fighting in November, especially a guy like Aspinall right now.
That's very well put. I couldn't agree more with that last statement. By the way, when did you get into the top 5 pound for pound? Was that after Dricus beat Adesanya?
No, I was in the top 5, I think, beforehand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
can't keep track. I just, 6 was one thing, but like top 5, and then looking at the names above you, it's like, all right, it's like, finally I'm like, all right, everything's starting to make sense, where the merits of our work are starting to reward. And I say our work, because he says we, and he's Team Muhammad all day, even though we know it's him. All right, let's move on. So speaking of Leon Edwards, so the England tour, we're not going to find Rocky Edwards in the crowd, I don't believe, at your stop. Isn't it just fascinating? So you're going to tell us about what's happening, I believe, end of September, right? Back to Manchester, England. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, it's cool. We got 4 stops back in England. The team, shout out to Okir, wanted to bring me back out there. He said that, bro, the people out there, the huge community, they all want you back. So we're going to go back to where it all happened, right? Got the title. We're going to go to Manchester, London, Birmingham. It's going to be cool, because like I said, the love we got right after the fight was crazy, and we had to go in and we had to basically go out right away. So to be able to be there now, relax, chilling, and actually being able to celebrate it without all the extra stresses of fight week is going to be pretty cool.
Instead of doing extra preparations to heal up your nose to get ready to fight in October, like, get out of here. All right. No, but that's great. So that's cool. Are you going to be going to the fights in Paris, or is that conflicting?
We're 50-50 right now. I'm trying to figure everything out. Yeah, obviously I want to go check out Brendan and watch Brendan's fight. I think that's going to be a huge fight, especially with the way the division just happened right now. I think that a win for him right now would be huge, and it'll put him right there in the mix for the title. Especially, you obviously got Hamzat against Whitaker, but even if Brendan wins that fight, then you have a fight with Izzy open, right? Because Izzy's saying he's still staying in division, and I think for himself, he's not taking those small fights. Brendan wins in Paris is going to be a big fight.
I agree. And man, if there was ever a must win, I know how young Brendan is, but he is a ripe contender. And the ebbs and flows of these divisions, right? As well as anyone, you just got to keep winning. But the way it works out, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could have gotten an opportunity to even compete for the belt prior to now. You know what I mean? The way other guys have gotten early shots. So it's a big win for him, because I really think potentially this is the only win he needs to potentially fight for the belt. I really do. I mean, I know it's getting a little crowded, so to speak, but as long as he stays ready for a potential short notice opportunity, Brendan, I think if he beats Imambov, he has a great chance to fight for the belt. So
yeah, and I think John put that poll out there recently where he said who has the best chance of beating Dricus, and I said Brendan, and people are like counting on there. But remember, Brendan was calling him out. There's bad blood there between Brendan and Dricus. Brendan been wanting this fight and been asking for this fight even before Dricus was champion. So it's not like, oh, now he wants to talk now that Dricus is champion. No, he's been asking for this fight. I think they used to train together as well, too. So there's going to be a fun buildup, and especially stylistically, right? Brandon's a dog. He's going to come to fight every single time. And I think that matchup is a perfect matchup for him.
Dude, it's just unbelievable. Like he presented what we discussed as a very interesting challenge for Adesanya. I could say the same thing about the challenge he presents for Dricus du Plessis. You know, I mean, I would love to sit in a room with Dricus and be like, all right, and list off some guys. And I bet you throw out a certain name like that, might give him a little pause. That name might not be on the tip of his tongue, but Brendan is dangerous. All right. We're getting to some Bicks. I like it. Bullies Bicks. Green screen whenever you're ready. Bone marrow. So, Bully, if there was ever like a random fight card for you to be in Vegas for, I would say this weekend, man, with Gerald Meerschaert and Michael Morales, who has worked with you recently. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna do Bicks on the co-main and the main event. But I got to talk about those two fights first. For so many reasons, we got to talk about those two fights. But I couldn't help but think, I know you're all over the place, but a couple guys you know really well fighting. Well, let's just talk about GM3 first. All right, Shabazian, Edmund Shabazian. Gerald Meerschaert III, what's he, 37-18 as a professional mixed martial arts competitor? Unbelievable, this guy. So anyway, I know GM3 is a close friend of yours. He is a fairly heavy underdog, as usual for GM3, right? That's right where we like him. So, you know, just tell me about the fight. What do you think? I'm not going to have you pick it because I know you're picking Gerald. But break it down a little bit. Talk to me about Shabazian and what problems he presents for GM3.
Yeah, you know, even like last week when I was thinking back to it, when you were like, list off the people you want to thank. Like Gerald was a huge part in helping me be where I am today. Like I've learned so much from him. People don't know how smart that guy is. He's a genius when it comes to stuff and teaching things. He was like one of the best training partners, the best teachers that I ever had. And today the UFC like booked or posted something where it was like 10 finishes from Gerald Meerschaert. And I was like, bro, he has 10 finishes in the UFC. How crazy is that? He has the most submission wins in middleweight history. And people don't realize how good he is. Stylistically, I like this matchup for him. Edmund is obviously a great striker. He has great power, but Gerald on the ground is a different animal. Gerald on the ground is, you know, there's levels to this. And I think for Edmund, who we've seen him get tapped out, we've seen him get broken when guys take him down. I think if Gerald comes out there, it's a small cage, pulls him to the ground. That's his world. And we've seen him, his last fight, dominated Bam Bam. I think that if he gets Edmund to the ground, it's going to be an easy night for him.
Well, you know, and defense is part of winning in the Ultimate Fighting Championship and all promotions. You got to, you know, I think if GM3 can survive a couple minutes, I think the odds sort of can shift, right? Big odd, right? Big odd.
Crazy, right? That's wild, especially when you're looking at the styles, right? Edmund comes out so fast and hard, and Gerald just needs to slow it down. Whether that early storm, if he weathers that storm, it's going to be his world. It's going to be, and we've seen him fight guys like this. He's, like you said, he's had over 40 fights. He's seen everything that you need to see inside the cage, and he's fought some of the toughest guys in the cage. And I think that this is going to be a good night for him.
And he'll be walking. He'll be doing a ton of walking during fight week. And wish his boy Belal Muhammad could be there. For those of you who don't know the reference, you know, Gerald just wants to walk during fight week. He doesn't want to go for a run He just wants to go for a walk.
Literally walk like 40 minutes, like twice a day. That's how he comes his weight. We just walk.
Belal would rather like pain himself on stairs. Am I wrong?
Literally, yeah. I was like, it gets so boring. I'm like, bro, you can do push-ups, burpees, or something.
I love it. All right. So Michael Morales, 25 years old, this kid. And he probably makes you feel old a little bit, right? Because me at 46, I feel old every day around all you folks. But anyway, 25 years old, 4-0 in the UFC. I know he spent some time with you, so tell us a little bit about that. But he's facing Neil Magny, and we're not live with the champ, ION, live with the champion. My name is Jason Anik. This is episode 135. Remember the show. I'm just doing this so I can say, joined by the UFC welterweight champion, Belal. Remember the name, Muhammad. I haven't said remember the name in a while. People didn't like that either. This is UFC Vegas 96 preview coming. So anyway, Michael Morales, obviously you're picking him. He's an enormous favorite over Neil Magny. I've said about Magny a lot, and I'm going to say it again because I like the line. Yeah, like sometimes the gatekeeper keeps the gate, and it's tough to get in, you know? And he took care of Mike Malott up in Canada, in Toronto, UFC 297. So I know where you're going, but break this fight down. Tell me a little bit about Morales in Chicago with the champion.
Man, this kid has so much talent. I called him out here. We brought him out to Chicago to help me, obviously, for the Leon fight. He has perfect size. His wrestling is so good. He has an awkward striking style. But, man, I didn't realize how big he was until he got here. And they're literally the perfect training partner because you, especially somebody in your division, and people don't even talk about him when they talk about these hot prospects that are coming up. They forget about him. I'm like, bro, this kid's undefeated. He's a monster. He's so good. And, like, for me to be able to work with him, like, obviously we iron sharpens iron. It was like the perfect thing because we learned so much from each other, and he helped me a lot for this fight. But I was like, bro, how the heck did this kid make weight? He was so big, so strong. And yeah, it was cool to be able to work with him and see him. And then younger generation, man, this kid is, I didn't even realize how young he was. But I'm excited for his future. And this is the fight, right? This is the fight where I think you get over Neil Magny, people are like, all right, now you're real. You get over him, that's when they start putting you in those, the upper echelon of guys, because, you know, nobody talks about Shavkat until you walk through Neil Magny. Like, all these guys have
Good point.
He's that gatekeeper that you have to do it to. And he's been in there with everybody, though. But he's also that guy that people feel like you're going to walk through, then, you know, he just toughens it out, weathers the storm, and he figures out a way to beat you. Even in that Belal fight. Belal was looking good until he wasn't looking good.
Yep.
For Morales, I think he's a different animal. I think he's the hottest prospect and the best prospect out of all these guys. And when I'm talking about, like, pure talent, this kid has it all. I think he's going to go out there. I think he's going to fight Neil very smart, and I think he's going to get a finish with him.
So if this fight sort of goes along, you know, and let's say he doesn't get a sort of quick finish, round and a half, and it starts going, I mean, how's the cardio for Morales? And are you able to sort of have a good feel for that in the limited time you spent with him?
Oh yeah, bro. This, like I said, this kid's, we had some wars in the cage. We had some sparring wars, and I'm like, there's going to be a breaking point for this kid, but he just had that mentality where I'm just going to keep going too. So we just push each other so well. And it was like the perfect combination for us. So then I was like, oh, okay, well, he's not just like usually guys with that big muscle. They have that, you know, that off switch where it's like they get tired. He didn't have that at all. He was fun. He was fun to work with. And I don't see him getting tired at all in the cage.
And I will say you've had a lot of guys that you've worked with in the past, and I'm not going to reveal anything specific, but he's one of the few that you've had nothing negative to say about. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's other guys with a work ethic or certain things they don't want to do, right? Yeah. You were raving about this guy forever. And I will say, right, it's like he needs to go out there and smash Neil Magny. What is it that you always say about Neil Magny, Bully?
He sucks.
There it is. Sorry, Neil. Belal, I had to tee it up. Co-main event. Close fight. Angela Hill plus 105, Tabitha Baby Shaq Ricci minus 125. Angela Hill, man. So she's going to be 40 in January. Like, shout out Angela Hill, right? Like, I mean, it's unbelievable, man. So I'm going to talk about Tabitha Ricci first because I've spent some time with her recently, right? She's dating Callum Walsh, who Dana is, you know, backing as a boxer. So we've seen her sort of creeping on the Fight Pass sets here and there, right? So Tabitha Ricci, right? She's won 5 of 6. Most recently winning over Tisha Pennington in May. That was a split decision. For me, right, I got to just say, I picked this fight earlier in the week, like publicly. I picked Tabitha Ricci, and I don't like picking fights, man. And people ask me to pick fights. I love Angela Hill, right? This fight, I'm very excited for this fight. So Angela Hill's won 4 of 5, as I say, as she approaches the age of 40. Only loss in there was to Mackenzie Dern. Angela Hill sold T-shirts that say, bitch fucking season. Like, she is a dog. I'm excited for this fight. I'm very interested to hear you break it down and pick it. Don't play anything into my pick. The reason I picked it is because when fighters are on the way, you're the first fighter, and I picked you that sort of, what is it, over age 35 for the old guy to beat the young guy, right? So for me, the young fighters, I always lean that way. Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to both of them. Both of them were contestants on the show. We need to get the game shows back, so I need contestants. I want to come on a game show. Make sure you guys send us your resumes. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun fight. I did not realize Angela Hill was about to hit 40. That's crazy. She doesn't look like it.
No.
But Tabitha's been in so many close fights recently. Like, they've been very close decisions. She, like, I don't know if it's just her style or the way she just fights, or she just gets comfortable and she thinks she's ahead that she starts slowing down. But for this fight, I think Angela is going to come out hard. I think Tabitha needs to be able to take her down. I don't think she wants to strike with Angela. Angela, I think, has way cleaner striking, even though Tabitha's, like you said, she's with a boxer now, but her jiu-jitsu is where she's good at, right? She's a little sharp. And I think if she does get Angela down, I know Angela's been getting better with her grappling, better with her wrestling, and she showed a lot of improvements. But like you said, I think just the younger Ricci is going to be too much. I think she's going to be hungrier. I think she's going to be a lot faster. And if she gets on top and gets her down, I think she'll be able to hold her down.
You know, that makes me feel a little bit better about my pick, so I appreciate that. Love it. Moving on to the main event, middleweight bout. Caio Borralho, I hope I pronounce it right, for my brother versus Jared Cannonier. Man, dude, I'm really interested in this fight. You know, Borralho 6-0 in the UFC, won 13 in a row overall, beat Paul Craig, UFC 301 back in May. I don't know, man. Like, the thing about Jared Cannonier, it's like he's fought for the belt. He's fought everybody. He's an absolute animal. I do believe in that last fight against Nasruddin Imavov that Imavov was the guy who got robbed on that early stoppage, right? Where I feel like Imavov was about to sort of have a moment. But I don't know. Cannonier is a guy I don't like betting against, and seeing him as a 2-1 underdog in the apex, having been in so many big spots. For me, this feels like it's almost like a little bit of like a Steve Erceg, Kai Kara France, where it's just like, whoa, are we over elevating someone here? But can't wait to watch this one. More excited to hear you break it down.
Yeah, man. Like, when Jared beat Marvin, I was like, bro, no one's going to beat this Jared. And then you saw him his next fight, and Mavov, Jared had his moments in that fight. It was
no doubt,
he was pretty much winning it until he just got caught. And that, that stoppage was a weird stoppage, but like you said, I think Imavov was still going to end up finishing that fight with the way it was looking right there. It's crazy how these odds are right now, though, like 2-1. And I'm looking at Borralho, and it's like his last win was against Paul Craig. Like, he hasn't fought anybody like Jared, and Jared's fought the best of the best. He hasn't fought anybody at Jared's level. And when you're looking at Jared, he's a hard guy to take down. He has great power on the feet. And he showed that he could also change up his style and have heavy volume. I know Kyle got crazy momentum right now. That
Fighting Nerds
squad has what's the name? The Nerd
yeah,
squad.
I like your name better. The Fighting Nerds. I love
like
it.
Best Buy.
Dude, I love
the team is hot, right?
Bro, if you were to put something, into AI with the Fighting Nerds, you might get Geek Squad as another name back. So good job.
Yeah, they got momentum right now. But I don't know. I'm gonna pick Jared here. I think that he still showed it. It wasn't like he lost a step his last fight. He still looked good. He just had moments himself. I think Imavov is just a funky striker to deal with. But Jared looked like he came in there with a game plan to try to wrestle him a little bit, wear him down a little bit. I think this fight, he knows that this vision is – there's still moments. There's still opportunity for him to get a bigger fight, especially with Adesanya losing. You have that time to get a rematch with him. You have other big-name fights. So if he loses this one, it's going to be tough for him to come back from. But I'm picking him for this fight.
I like it. And he is 40. I mean, that is a real number. But it's the miles in MMA not necessarily translate to the age, as we all know. So Bully, man, it's interesting, right? I guess I'm almost done talking about gloating about the championship, but dude, nice to see you back in there getting work. And it's interesting because I sort of joked around originally when you're like, yeah, going to the gym. And I'm like, it must be fun hitting the heavy bag. You know what I mean? And then like going and driving your belt back home, but for real, like, it's nice to see you back working. And it definitely feels like the switch has been flipped again. Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Especially because I got teammates with fights, right? Juliana just got her title fight.
That's right.
For Salt Lake City. So she's in the room. Nacho, that's my brother right there. And I want him to win so bad. So I'm back in pushing him, giving him anything I got right now to make sure that this happens, especially at the Sphere. I know how big this moment will be for him, and all the eyes are going to be on the show. And I think he could definitely steal the show with the opponent he's fighting, with the way he fights. I think that the lights are going to be on and he's going to show out.
I can't wait to see Nacho fight. And you bring up Juliana Pena, right? And that's got to be just such a cool vibe with the two of you. You've known each other for so long, close friends, worked hard together. She was in Manchester for you, wearing your Bullies Beat Down shirt in the building. Shout out Average Joe Art. But bro, so you guys in the gym right now, and she's going to fight Raquel Pennington for a championship. Am I correct?
Yeah.
What an opportunity for Juliana Pena here right now in 2024, huh? I mean,
yeah, it's huge. And especially for her, for the team, Coach Mike Mike Valleyland, I got another title he's gonna win. This is another moment for him,
Bro.
big moment. And honestly, for women's division, I think Juliana, she's the next face of the division. She's that name value, that person that's gonna push the division, promote the division, and she's the one that's putting effort into it. Raquel, obviously she's a great fighter. She's just not that type, right? She doesn't want to be in the public eye. She doesn't like to push, to promote. I think Juliana loves that. She loves to be hated. She loves to talk. She loves to talk trash. So she's working hard right now. She's pushing it. She's been out for a while. And when you're thinking back to her last fights, I think it's been like a year and a half since she's fought. She's grown a lot. She's gotten better in a lot of these areas. So I'm excited for her to go out there and show the world all of her new tools, all of her new stuff, and to bring the belt back home to Chicago again.
I love it. You don't have to answer this, but I am curious because I don't know the answer. I guess first part of the question is, have you ever cornered her before? And I know you're going to be there in October. Are you cornering her?
No, I never cornered her before. She always had her coaches, but yeah, I'm definitely going to be there to support her for sure.
Yeah, but who's her
to push for me? So yeah, I'm going to be in Salt Lake City.
So who besides Valley? Who's typically in her corner?
She has like a boxing coach, a jiu-jitsu coach.
Okay.
Yeah, she works with she has multiple spots she goes to in Chicago that she's been with those guys for a while. She has her loyal guys that she's been with, and she's very loyal herself.
Yeah.
So she stick with the people that have been with her from the start.
Yeah. Cool, man. And dude, Khalil Roundtree Jr., I don't think we've talked about that championship opportunity against Alex Pereira. Wow. What are your thoughts?
The fight's going to be crazy, right? I just thinking about the action in that fight's going to be wild, but man, shout out to Alex Pereira. Like he's a beast. This is going to be, they said, his fourth fight in 12 months. Like when I'm thinking about him, obviously like these are like the perfect fights for him. They're all striking fights. So, but he's still taking it. There's not a lot of guys that'll still say yes, especially when you're got a guy like Khalil. You're like, oh, this monster wants to fight right now. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But dude, I will say, and I probably am on an island here, but seeing that same name headlining a card for me again in 12 months does give me kind of like like if I'm being honest with you, and I love Khalil Roundtree Jr. I met him over the summer, but you feel me a little bit on that? Like it's a little bit, I love Pereira. I know he's exciting, but for me, it's like, oh, again.
Honestly, like when I look at the matchup, I'm excited about it. When I saw him fight Yuri for the second time, I was like, come on, another rematch. He knocked him out the first time. I don't think the rematch was really worth it. But when I look at this matchup, it's new blood. And Khalil's on a big streak right now. And it's just like, stylistically, I don't see this fight being anything less than a crazy war. Like I think that somebody's going to go to sleep. It's going to be nothing but action. There's not going to be anything in there that's going to be, Francis Ngannou, Black Beastish.
So before I get you out of here, I just have to plant a seed on this. I know we're a couple weeks out, but I can't get enough of Sean Brady, Gilbert Burns in the Apex September 7th for so many reasons. The fact that it's in the Apex and feels like as big a fight as you could possibly put in that building, and that building's about to get shut down for about a year. Obviously, two former foes of yours. I'm not asking for you to make a pick, but for me, the loser of this fight, it is so the stakes are extraordinarily high. I think one of them, it's not, it could be fighting next for the belt, not next, but right. This could be a title eliminator of sorts. Talk to me a little bit about that one that's creeping on us.
Yeah, 100%. This is honestly, like I said, when you're thinking about the division, the door is open, right? There's not a lot. There hasn't been that number one contender fight. There hasn't been that clear guy where you're like, oh, he beat every guy in the top 5. Like Bully B. No, none of these guys have fought. There hasn't been a top 5 matchup with two guys fighting each other in the top 5. So for both these guys, especially Brady coming off of a huge win against Gastelum, and then for Burns, you were looking great against Jack until you weren't. Right. So it's like to show that you still have something left in you. And there's bigger names out there for both these guys afterward, right? Because the winner of this could either get Colby, the winner of this could get Kamaru, the winner of this could get Ian Gary or Jack. Like there's a lot of matchups for these guys where you're like, now I'm right back in the mix. I'm right back in the title contention.
Yep. It is interesting when you shout out all these names, right? It does feel like nobody you've said this, totally deserves it today. You feel me? Right? It's like, you feel like everybody should have to beat one more person. I know you're ready to go at the end of the year, but you feel me? Right? It's like, nobody's so clear right now, you know?
Yeah, 100%. It's like like I said, there hasn't been that. Like I had to beat 4 top 5 guys to even get my neck up there to get this title shot. Like none of these guys have done it. And if you're just looking at just like resumes, obviously Kamaru has the best resume, but now he's on a 3-fight losing streak. When you're looking at streaks, Shavkat has the longest streak, but it's like your last one, it was against Wonder Boy. And it's obviously they're up there, but it's like there hasn't been that guy. You're like, bro, this guy beat him, and he got it. He's next.
And no disrespect, we're not disrespecting Wonder Boy. It's just we're talking about, making yourself undeniable as that next guy. And we all, whatever. It is what it is. But like I said earlier this week, it's like they got to deal with you. So it's like whoever it is, and you don't care, right? It's like you talk about different guys and the matchup and who, certain guys thinking about different matchups. Something that I know with every ounce of your being, it don't matter. It don't matter.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, I've fought every style. I've seen every style, and I called out every style. So there's not a guy that I'm like, man, please don't give me this guy. I don't want to wrestle with him.
Bro, I'm so tempted. I haven't had a chance to do this yet, but to look back at some of your old tweets, because it's got to be a tough exercise, but bro, there's got to be some just fire back there. You know what I mean? Of just things that you pushed out 2020, 2021. I'm sure some of them have come to the surface, but I'm going to do a deep dive on that at some point because a lot of your prognosticating, especially in your own title fight, has come true. So
yeah, bro, I've been calling this out for a while, right? And I've been saying this for a while. Oversized tee, but appreciate you, brother. Shout out to everybody.
That's a good man right there. That's a good man right there.
Guys.
Appreciate you.
Keep supporting. Appreciate you guys. Also, man, check out Anatomy of a Fighter. Go on Will Harris's page. The finale was amazing. Huge shout out to my brother. Literally the best storyteller in the game. Like, if this was on the big screen, this dude, he would get an award, right? Like, he deserves it. His stuff is huge, and it's only getting better and better and better. And like, it's crazy the stuff he gets, the stuff that he puts out there.
Hey, you never know. It could be nominated for something. You never know. And so, and Will Harris, check that out. And also, Will Harris has some new shirts out, courtesy of our boy Average Joe Art. Dude, so check it out. Everything he does is great. You can hit up johnanik.com for your Belal Muhammad merchandise. We do have Remember the Show t-shirts if those of you want a little creeper on that, but 15% off. Code Bully, code Noche, whatever you want. There's some One More Sleep gear out there. Bully, check your mail. I got that Bully 727 hat in the mail. We got a lot of prototypes working, Bully. We can't fast track all this stuff. I'm going to see you in September in Noche. I'm going to bring you some samples. We got to try some things on. We got different size heads, as you know, so that, that hat that I had last week, I had to ship it to Chicago, see how it fits you. We want to do things right. You feel me? Appreciate all you tuning in for episode 135. Shout out everybody here. All you creeping in the comments. Stay well, Belal Muhammad, Cody Merrill. We appreciate you. We'll see you all next Thursday night for episode 136. My name is Jason Anik for the champion, Belal Muhammad. Have a great night. Peace.